Thank you. I appreciate it. And just want to give a shout out and thank you to Mr. Brown for allowing us and the Forbes Funds for allowing us to come on today and talk about our response to COVID-19. Also on the line from my team is our Chief Academic Officer, Monica Jenkins, our Chief of Staff, Erica Fairby Jones, and our Communications Officer, Ebony Pugh. And I think Chief of Schools, David Maystein, should be joining as well. So our response to COVID-19, beginning on Friday, March 13th, Governor Wolf began a series of announcements related to the school closures, which ultimately led to the decision to close all schools across the Commonwealth for the remainder of the school year due to COVID-19. April 22nd marked an historic day in Pittsburgh Public Schools. Why? For the first time in the district's history, students and teachers across grades pre-K through 12 engaged in remote learning. There was not a school district or state government across the United States that was prepared for this type of public health crisis. Moving instruction for 23,000 students from brick and mortar classrooms to remote learning is no easy task. It will take significant planning under normal circumstances, but particularly within the month or 3 weeks, the time since schools have been closed to slow the spread of COVID-19. In anticipation of the long-term closure of schools, more than 2,000 teachers and school-based staff have participated in online training to support remote learning. We executed a memorandum of understanding with the Pittsburgh Federation, PFT Union of Teachers to support this new way of work. We also invested in a new technology to support online instruction. And this week, we will distribute laptops to identify students in grades 9 through 11. We've already distributed to seniors. Now we'll begin with 9 through 11 and go all the way down to the grade levels in subsequent weeks. We are also preparing for our, preparing for our next round of packet distribution. That's instructional packet distribution to support our families who do not have access to technology at home. To date, we have invested nearly $300,000 to print the more than 21,000 packets necessary to ensure all students have access to the same material. In addition, ensuring students had equal access to the content, we also had to meet the needs of students with disabilities, English language learners, and those living in non-traditional settings such as foster care or homelessness. I must thank our team, our frontline workers, our food service staff who have been ensuring students are fed at 32 grab-and-go locations across the city, our truck drivers who are ensuring food and materials are delivered to locations across the city, the field techs who have been re-imaging thousands of laptops to get them in the hands of our teachers and students, and the many custodians who have ensured buildings are deep cleaned and open for staff completing essential work. Now for challenges, we have several significant challenges. Most certainly, our biggest challenge to remote learning is bridging the digital divide that exists among our students. Fortunately, the investments we have made in technology since my arrival have ensured we are able to meet the needs of our staff and high school seniors. Our recent investment of $1.5 million for additional technology will ensure we meet the needs of more of our students. But based on the survey of our staff and families, we anticipate an additional 7,500 laptops are needed to allow every student to participate in online or remote learning. Ultimately, we're going to become a one-to-one district, meaning every student has access to a laptop from the district. We need a total of 17,000 devices to meet this goal. We are grateful to the community that has stepped up to help us in this time of need. The Allegheny County Conference put out a call to its network to support Neighborhood Learning Alliance, Beyond Laptops Consortium in the building, a wraparound framework to get the devices in the hands of our students. We have established the PPS Remote Learning Fund in response to those who have expressed a desire to help the district meet this need. In addition to creating new ways of work for counselors and social workers to ensure support for students and families, we have also partnered with the United Way to promote PA 211, where families can find resources to meet their basic needs. The United Way additionally supported an effort with Parkhurst to ensure students receive meals during the district's spring break. We always talk about ways to stem the summer slide. Well, this year we're concerned about the second semester slide. While we want all of our students to participate in remote learning, we know that participation will vary for multiple reasons. For this reason, summer learning is particularly an area of focus. However, we must plan. When we do, we must make sure it's specific and strategic and directed to those specific students who are in need of that instruction and support the most. Therefore, we've been thinking to make what makes sense, particularly to plan for a virtual summer. And so traditionally we would have our summer dreamers at brick and mortar, but now with COVID-19 and its uncertainty, we're actually planning for a summer dreamers virtual and what that will look like for our students and families. So referring to guardians, and I know it's particularly hard for guardians. You have parents at home, guardians at home with our students, helping them to transfer and transition to become teachers. That's difficult in itself. So many of our parents and families are finding themselves, again, working remotely for the first time. That is if they are not dealing with the challenge of unemployment. With all of this, they are also caring for loved ones, now supporting the education of their student from home. As we would anticipate with any new initiative, the learning curve varies among families as well. Some are very familiar with the platform we are using for remote learning, while others may find it frustrating. We continue to develop new ways to support families in this new remote learning environment. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and we'll field any questions from the group at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. I'll start with one question. We've seen inequality, inequity, and unfavorable student outcomes have unfortunately been a persistent critique of the Pittsburgh public school system. How have you sought to reverse this trend, and how does this moment, COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, provide new opportunities to make PPS the most desirable place to send our children?
Well, I'll start with number one. We have significant diversity in our school district. And I want to make sure everybody understands that we cannot compare Pittsburgh public schools to our surrounding suburban neighborhoods, affluent neighborhoods such as Chapel Hill, Fox Chapel, Elizabeth Ford, and those things. They have smaller school districts. So you have to compare us to maybe a Philadelphia or Allentown or Reading, who has a similar population to us. With that being said, we have a lot of diverse students that we need to get to. Our special education population, which sits at about 20% of our student base. Also, we have a burgeoning population of EL students that we need to support also, let alone those students who are in homeless situations or McKinney-Vento. We need to make sure that we support all of those students. And so when we begin to roll out this particular remote learning plan, we want to make sure we met the needs of all of our students at the same time and not just meet the needs of some. And I don't know if our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Jenkins, wants to chime in on this, on the question, or the answer, I should say.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. This is Monica Jenkins, Chief Academic Officer. I would say that we've done a lot of work, really starting with the graduate profile with Imagine PPS, and really starting to focus on what is it that we're looking for students to be successful with, beginning hopefully 2021 and beyond. And one of the things that I think is very important for us to understand is the graduation requirements. What are the expectations for students? And then look back mapping that piece. So what does the course catalog look like? Many of our schools are very unique in their course offerings, but when those course offerings, they do vary drastically from school to school. And so that could very well have an impact on our inequity across the district, just in expectations alone. So that is one of our major works that we're working on currently through Imagine PPS. We also try our best to make sure that we have to focus on our special education and English language learner population to ensure that they're getting the proper supports for the students that they need. And we've had some challenges in the past in making sure that those students receive the right supports at the right time. And this will allow us to be a little bit more strategic. So as we look forward to 2021 and beyond, this whole opportunity has allowed us to be a little bit more cognizant of our needs of all of our students, not just special populations, but every single student, and how we need to look at things differently to be able to provide that support. I think the technology divide was the most apparent, but then looking at not only the divide, but also the support that's provided to students who have technology and to students who do not.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Hannah Lokop on our team to start asking questions that are coming in through the chat.
Sure. Thanks so much for answering that initial question. We do have some coming in. I want to go up to a question regarding the fact that a teacher was diagnosed with COVID-19 at a school in our community. So what is the protocol for those who are in contact with staff who may have either contracted COVID-19 or maybe in contact with that person?
I will allow our chief of school performance, Dr. Deborah May Stein, who leads the crisis response team, to elaborate on that question. Dr. May Stein.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. Once we're notified of somebody that has tested positive or a presumable positive, we pull the crisis team together and we identify what the immediate next steps are. That include what was the level of exposure that the staff member had with other employees at the building. Based on that information, we decide what communication looks like and to whom. As a general cadence, once we identify or we're informed of a positive COVID test, we notify the board of directors. Then we notify the staff members of that school. Then we notify the families of that school. And then we take the communication ring a couple steps further, where we do an email blast and robocall to all of the employees in the district, notifying them of the either positive test, or the potential positive test, because sometimes it's hard to know exactly who has been in and out of a school building, because we have tradesmen, we have itinerant staff. There are lots of people that come in and out of buildings. When we started to do the grab and go meals, we started to have children and families visiting schools that may not be their own school. And so we wanted to make sure that we communicated not just to all staff in the building, in the district, but also all families in the district. And we end up sending a robocall to a list of over 46,000 recipients that's in our robocall system. After we send that initial communication, we maintain communication with the person that tested positive or is presumed positive. And as more information comes in, we'll continue to update all of the groups that we communicated to. We've been doing this communication this way since the week of March 9th. We're continuing to do this as late as yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you providing clarity on that. I want to refer to questions around what planning for both summer and fall look like. And a follow-up question to that is, are you planning for any revenue shortfalls if you foresee them in the coming months or years?
There's a level of uncertainty when it comes to what's going to happen in the fall. There's a level of uncertainty to what's going to happen in the summertime. That's why right now we're actually planning to make sure that we reach all of our students who need access to the internet and also technology, because if we're in this situation again next year, we want to make sure that we can meet the needs of our students in a synchronous way, and with real online, or true online, full implementation of remote learning and what that looks like for our students. Also, if we do go back, what does that look like for our students? And what does that look like for our staff? Operating procedures. We definitely have stepped up health and hygiene measures for our schools. But also, when you think about class size and proximity, schools, and I think that's one of the main reasons why Governor Wolf closed schools early, because of the close proximity that we have with our faculty, parents, students, and community as well. And so you might look at a situation, and again, these are ideas or possibilities based on the situation we may be in. You may have smaller class sizes. You may be in a situation where we go to an A day, B day, or C day, bringing kids in waves so we can limit the exposure and on proximity to others as well. So, and again, this all depends on where we are and what the CDC and the government, the health agencies say we need to do, and get recommendations from our governor as well. It could look like staggered schedules. We don't know. Younger kids could go first. So it's a lot of ideas that are out there. I'm constantly sending information to my team so we can look at the possibilities. There's several articles out there about what might be the possibilities for next year and what that looks like. But specifically, and I'm gonna go back to, I know the question was asked about Summer Dreamers and also about the budget as well. So a little bit about the budget. I know we're actually getting stimulus funds coming in. We're having conversations with our Allegheny County delegation that's in Harrisburg around where we are with the funding. We'll have clarity soon when it comes to that. I know there are a few bills on the table around stimulus package. I know from the Harrisburg delegation, but also from our federal government as well. And so next, I'll let Dr. May Stein elaborate on our current plans for Summer Dreamers at this point.
Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. We are in the process of shifting our plan to have a virtual Summer Dreamers Academy. And so what does that mean? That means that we're taking our normal approach for a brick and mortar program that has academics in the morning and enrichment in the afternoon, to looking at a couple different options. That one option with extended academic offerings, another option that has extended academic offerings plus some enrichment. And we're working right now with our out of school time department to make sure that some of our providers that typically support us during the summertime, are they themselves able to shift to a virtual environment. Right now, we've identified a program that would support K-5 for 1,200 students. Right now, the team and the executive cabinet are reviewing other models to see if we're able to increase the number of students that we support, as well as expanding to different grade levels. One of the biggest concerns we have right now is, in addition to summer learning loss, we now have a fourth report period learning loss, probably known as the COVID learning loss. How are we going to make up for this lost instructional time? Because we know that our students that are already disadvantaged are going to be doubly disadvantaged based on recent events. So we're in the process of finalizing plans that we'll be bringing to the executive cabinet for final decisions. We have an incredible team with Melanie Claxton, Tyler Hart, and Christine Cray that are really working together, also with our out of school time partners, to develop the best plan that we possibly can for our kids. Stay tuned. We expect to land probably within the next 7 to 10 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hamlet, and thank you, Dr. May Stein. I want to go to a question, since Dr. May Stein, you mentioned out of school time. So there's a question in the chat about how can out of school time support the summer virtual dreamers? So I know you said you're still planning, but is there any other information that out of school time folks can know at this point?
So all of the out of school time partners will be contacted by Tyler, seeking input and suggestions for how can you help in a virtual environment. Just like for the school district, it's also brand new for our out of school time partners in what this way of work looks like. One of the things that we know we want assistance with is using them to help us locate, if need be, our hard to reach families. We know that our out of school time partners have incredible relationships with some of our families. They're already collaborating with the Department of Human Services. And so we are working to build a stronger collaboration to make sure that we are reaching every single student. Again, we know that we have families that are struggling under normal circumstances. Given what's going on right now, we can imagine how much more difficult it is. The out-of-school time partners could be a major leverage for our students. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that. And you know, when you talk about going virtual and working with partners virtually, there are questions in our chat about connectivity. We know that being isolated during this time is difficult. I mean, here at the Forbes Funds, we're working with People Need People on connecting our nonprofit leaders in the community, but also, you know, there are questions. I'll try to link them together so we can get as many questions in as possible. So one question is about, what is the timeline for distributing laptops to students? A follow-up question related to that is, do you anticipate any kind of socialization exercises or activities that students will take part in as they receive laptops and gain connectivity? And then how will some activities that are normally scheduled throughout the year, like prom or graduation, are there any kinds of thoughts around how that could be facilitated virtually, knowing that students really benefit from being connected with each other?
Dr. Maystern?
Yes, thank you. We have already distributed laptops to all of our seniors. Out of the 1,500 plus seniors we have in the district, by our last count on Friday morning, 24 seniors still needed a device. They would fall under the hard to reach category, and we're still in the process of finding those students. So our next phase, which we're in process now, is passing out devices to all students in 9th through 11th grade. It's our goal to have that complete by May 1st. Right now, all of the high schools and programs that have 9th through 11th grade students are planning the distribution, which will include families coming up to the school to pick up a computer, and also school staff deliver computers to the homes in a delivery method. Schools are doing both, really based off of the needs of families. During this time, we are practicing and enforcing social distancing to make sure that everybody is safe during this. Everybody's wearing personal protective equipment, gloves and masks, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prevent the inadvertent spread of COVID. The plans that we have right now, we've, of course, have canceled the traditional commencement ceremony and prom due to the orders coming from the governor. We are finalizing plans for our virtual commencement to take place on June 9th, I think Saturday, and June 9th and June 10th. June 10th and June, I don't have the calendar in front of me, but it's that weekend. It's June 13th and 14th, I believe, actually, will be the graduation dates that we have previously scheduled. We will be doing virtual commencement ceremonies for each school. We have a team combined of central office and school-based staff that are finalizing an incredible virtual plan to give every student the best experience they can possibly have as we close out their high school career. We're also considering options if we're able to come back together. We're able to get back together in groups of larger than than 10 or 50, where there's a tentative plan to do an in-person, not a plan, a recommendation to do an in-person commencement ceremony later in August, if we can make that happen, as well as having proms for high school students at the end of July or in August, again, as recommendations are coming down. The high school principals, activity directors, assistant superintendents, as well as the superintendent's executive cabinet, we want to provide our seniors the very best experience under normal circumstances. Given how everything happened so quickly this year, it's been a shock to them. It's been a shock to everybody. And we're all working to put together recommendations based off of the possibility of what we're allowed to do. So stay tuned as information is finalized and approved. We'll communicate that information out.
Thanks so much, Dr. Maystein. Really appreciate that. So there are additional questions in the chat revolving around how PPS can work with other partners. So we touched a bit on out of school time partners, and there are some discussion around how folks are accessing internet. And many students in the past before COVID have been accessing internet and resources via libraries. For example, Carnegie libraries. Is there any kind of avenue for working with libraries or even community centers during this time regarding connectivity, but also in other ways as well?
Yes. So we have been passing out hotspots to our students that need them. And we are, I believe we had 230 or 40 hotspots to pass out to students, starting with seniors first that needed them. Our Chief of Accountability, Dr. Dwyer, is doing an incredible job of finding additional resources and additional equipment that we can provide to students that need it. When we run out of hotspots for students, we're in the process of acquiring more. Unfortunately, we know that libraries and community centers right now are closed. And so they're not available to students. And there are a couple local cable companies that are offering free internet service. We've communicated this information to our families. And at the end of the day, we want to do everything we can to make sure our students have access. It's an ongoing solve.
Thank you. And we appreciate the efforts that you all are doing to continue to craft solutions around the challenges that we're facing right now. An additional question for either Dr. Hamlet or yourself. Are there thoughts about extending the school year as is able until June 30th via the governor mentioning that can be extended to then?
Well, I would say, coming from our standpoint, we want to add a bit of normalcy to this this new normal that we're currently having right now. Also, when you talk about extending the school year, you talk about the budget as well. There's a few questions about the budget, which I addressed earlier, and the budget uncertainty at this point also. But also looking at our district budget and our deficits that we have, because if you extend the school year, you have to pay employees to actually work, and what that would look like. And so we decided as a team, as a group, that let's stick to the regular schedule, again, to add a bit of normalcy to this new norm right now, but also begin to plan for the future, understanding that regardless of what individuals think, we are actually going, there'll be some differences when we get back to the fall. Or actually when we get back into our brick and mortar buildings, there will be some differences moving forward based on this pandemic experience that we're going through right now. And so I don't know if any of our team members want to add anything to that, but that was kind of our standpoint and our thought process with the school year.
appreciate that. Thank you. And so I want to acknowledge we have a few minutes left, about 4 minutes, because I do want to leave time for a public policy update before the end of the call. I definitely want to thank folks for submitting their questions today. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to them, so apologies for that.
Annie, I'm sorry, and I want to say, if you capture those questions and send them to us, we'll try to answer those questions and get them back to you so you can disseminate it to the group. So, apologies.
Absolutely, we can definitely do that. Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. So to round it out, there also is a question about if packets can be possibly sent directly to students. There are some transportation challenges that folks have, and so wondering if that could potentially be possible.
Dr. Baseline from Student Supports.
So there are a couple ways for parents to notify us that they need assistance. One is to call the helpline, 412-529-HELP, and inform the help desk that they need a packet delivered, provide their name, their child's name, the school they attend, and their home address. That information will be shared with the school principal as well as the assistant superintendent, and the school principal will work on getting a packet to those families. Another way is for the parents to email the principals and again, put that request in. We've had, after the last day of distribution, we have made arrangements for parents to both come up to school to get a packet, or we've been delivering packets to students' homes. And so we're doing whatever it takes to get an instructional packet out. All they have to do is let us know. Oh, and our out-of-school time partners have been, as well as church volunteers, other school-based volunteers have been helping with that as well. It's really been an incredible experience to watch the number of people that want to help and are helping.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. Maystein. I think, looking for the helpers in this situation is a commonly, and very welcome reiterated refraining during this time. So I want to end with a question from the chat. So working with community organizations, is there a way that community organizations can still provide services to students via new technology, whether it's trauma awareness and education or mental health and wellness education, specifically with the new technology that PPS will be providing students with?
I would, anything that an out-of-school partner would like to provide, I would say the first step would be to go through Tyler Hart. Get in touch with Tyler Hart, or get in touch with Miss Monica Pugh or Dr. Alicia Johnson in student services, and they will be the conduit of where services can be best utilized.
Thank you. And to round it out, folks are really thanking you all for your leadership in this time. So I want to pass that good energy from the chat to you all. And Dr. Hamlet, before we move on to the next section, do you have any final words on your end?
Final words, to be continued. So there are no final words on our side. We look at these challenges as opportunities to get better in this continuous improvement mode that we're in, constantly in Pittsburgh Public Schools, understanding that this is a challenging time for everyone. There's high frustration, anxiety, uncertainty. So we want to be a beacon of consistency in any way we can for the community, our families and our students, and our faculty and staff as much as possible. But also we can't do it alone. So this call and support that you can provide as organizations will help us as well. And definitely give us a call and let us know how you can help. I know there are multitudes of organizations that are out there right now that can support, but we just don't know ways that you can support. So again, contact us. If we need to set up another planning meeting with some of the organizations, we can do that via Zoom as well. But we're open and receptive to all support that's out there. And we want to do the best for our community. And just know we will be consistent and a beacon of hope in this time of uncertainty for our faculty, staff, and our community as well.
Thank you, Dr. Hamlet. And thank you, Dr. Maystein, and thank you to others, Ms. Monica Jenkins from PPS for also sharing their info today.